Hi, I'm Bill Deluise. I am also going to talk through the results of a recent study that we completed. And just as some context, Wiley is a big society publisher. We publish on behalf of hundreds of societies and associations. We have great and deep and long-lasting partnerships with them. And we truly believe that it's our responsibility to understand as much as possible about the research community, the needs of the user base, so that we can help our society publishing partners respond to those needs and, if possible, anticipate those needs. So at the end of 2014, we launched a comprehensive, in-depth study of the sentiments towards societies and associations and society products and services on behalf of members and prospective members. We published the full results in a couple of white papers, a few infographics, webinars, a couple of videos. You can find all of it at the link that you're seeing on the slides right now. And I was asked here today to talk about those results. The thing is, they're old. They're over a year old, or they're not as current, and so I thought it might be more interesting to talk about the as-yet unpublished 2016 results. So that's what you'll be hearing from me today. It means that if you go back to our white papers or our infographics, the data won't match. So I just wanted to make that as a warning at the outset. We had 12,897 usable responses. So we emailed out an invitation to about 1 million people and screened for being a member of the research community. So we used as the qualifying question, do you consume, produce, or otherwise support research? And that's what we believed as we could use as a proxy for, are you a member of the research community? We did this in February and March of this year, and the response was really nicely diverse. Geographically, the 3 regions, APAC, EMEA, and the United States are fairly equally well represented, and we had about 145 different countries represented in the respondents. We also had every conceivable professional setting represented, academia, the private sector, the nonprofit sector, government, hospitals, healthcare, and we had hundreds of subdisciplines and subject areas that we consolidated into about 20 disciplines. So these are broad, wide-ranging results. And there's a lot about them that's encouraging. Sorry, I should mention a couple more things. I can't actually do the results justice in the 10 or 15 or so minutes that I said I would keep this deck to. So I'm only going to touch on 3 areas of our findings. The insights that we have around attracting and retaining members, the indications of what members and prospective members value from societies, and a real top-level review of an analytical method called needs-based segmentation that we used in our results. And I should mention, just for completeness, that our needs-based segmentation relies on a variety of analytical techniques, including factor analysis, k-means cluster analysis, ANOVA, and perceptual mapping. You'll hear me reference those a couple of times throughout. So, beginning with why membership status and the reasons for not belonging, what we found was that a really decent percentage of respondents, about 58% of the global research community, are members of a society or association, at least one. And that was great. There are about 34% that aren't members. Either they have never been a member or they're not a member right now. There's a weird 7% who's not quite sure if they're members or not. And then there's an even weirder 2 or 3% who is other. I didn't know there could be an other when the options were yes, no, or maybe, but those people found it. We looked specifically at the people who weren't members, the ones whose membership had lapsed or the ones who had never been a member in the first place. And usually what you're seeing on the, so it's my left, what you're seeing in the bar chart is a cluster analysis around the responses that we received for people who are not members of a society, so the reasons that they're not members. What we usually see when we do this type of cluster analysis is a lot of correlations, and that's indicated by the gray boxes that kind of separate the groupings. What was interesting here was that there were inverse correlations more often than there were positive correlations, so a lot of either-or scenarios. Either people aren't members because the cost is too high, or they're not members because it never occurred to them to join. Or either people aren't members because they don't know what's available in their field and they've never really been invited to join a society, or because they feel they can get the benefits elsewhere. So the cost is too high, the benefits elsewhere. That speaks to a certain population who's unlikely to participate in societies and associations. What was really striking to me, though, was the percentage, the meaningful, the significant percentage of people for whom awareness is an issue. Their membership is driven not by a choice, but by their lack of awareness of what's available in their field or why they should be joining. Now, you can't actually say that membership or awareness issues are responsible for reasons that people leave a society. This is specifically a question that we targeted at people who were once members but are no longer. And the number one reason was lost funding source. So someone else was paying the bills and that someone cut off the funding, and so as a result, they left the society. What was more interesting, I think, was the number of people who cited things like lack of communication, or what they perceived as a lack of professional value, or what they saw as a lack of community that the society was putting forth. People who were in a very real way saying, it's not me, it's you. And that's why I'm not going to renew my membership. There was reason to be encouraged, though. We asked, recognizing that questions like, are you likely to do something, introduce a kind of natural positive bias. We wanted to know whether or not people were likely to join a society or association in the next 12 months. And the results were really encouraging. People were more likely than not. The mean here is about 3.44, and nearly 50% of people that we surveyed are either likely or very likely to join a society in the next 12 months. Those who are more likely than the average are people who are under 30 years old, based in Central Asia, which for our purposes included India, or lapsed members. And I thought this was really stunning. Lapsed members were much more interesting to rejoin a society than never have been members are likely to join in the first place. The reasons for renewing, I thought, were also really reassuring. The first kind of cluster of things, I'm not sure how well in the back you can make out the language on this slide. I'm so sorry about that. The first kind of cluster of things revolve around the products and services that the society puts forward. So at the very top is attending the annual meeting or other society events. Underneath it is receiving the society or association's journal. And those are, in an absolute way, the first and third primary reasons for renewing that the survey respondents said. The second one, what falls in the middle, is a feeling of connectedness to the community. So the annual meeting, being connected to the community, and the journal, receiving the journal, were three primary drivers of renewing that we found in our study. We wanted to get beyond just renewing and look at what drove satisfaction. So in the top, you're seeing how satisfied people are. And more often than not, our respondents were satisfied with the society they belong to. So the mean satisfaction level is about 3.85 that we saw in our results. What was amazing was that when individuals believed that the work of the society was important, their satisfaction level jumped up to 4.08. So when they rated that the work of the society is important on a 100-point scale at 80 or above, so if they strongly held that belief, then they were overall more satisfied with their membership. If they believed that, and they believed that the society was an effective home for networking, then they were the most satisfied subgroup of members that we looked at. So the mission really matters. And the opportunity to advance that mission with like-minded colleagues around the world really matters. On the flip side, when people don't believe that the work of the society is important, when that ranks lower for them, their mean satisfaction goes down, absolutely. And it's saved a little bit by receipt of a journal. Receipt of a journal brings that satisfaction level up a little, but not nearly to the level that you would see among those who believe in the importance of the work of the society. So the last thing I want to just mention is the results of our needs-based segmentation. And needs-based segmentation is a method that kind of does away with the more traditional types of segmentation. It's not demographic or geographic. It instead clusters people around shared needs or what they perceive as shared benefits. And the way we find out about that is to ask a single question that drives the rest of the analysis, and that question is this: how valuable are the following potential reasons to join a society or association to you in a professional capacity? So this is getting to what members value most. And what you're seeing here are 18 attributes that we asked respondents to rank on a scale of 0 to 100. The blue bar indicates the overall score, which is also in the blue text at the end. And the white text within the blue bar indicates the percentage of respondents that rank that particular attribute in 80 points or higher. So a cluster analysis suggested that there are 3 broad categories of things that members find valuable: the content that the society produces, the community that the society creates, and the career advancement that the society enables. Of those, on average, people value content most highly. When you're looking at the individual attributes, though, the opportunity to continue learning, the journal, and the ability to be part of a community are the 3 attributes that are most important. So those results I thought were interesting on their own. They're especially interesting when you think about the types of people that group together around them. So what you're seeing here is a perceptual map. And the way to read this, the red dots are the attributes, the same attributes that we just heard about, the list of 18 or so. The attributes define the space. So they drive, vector algebra drives the proximity of those attributes to each other. The triangles are segments that we've identified based on people's affinity for each of those clusters of attributes. So the closer a triangle is to a group of red dots, the more that segment likes or values those things that societies offer. And we name the segments. The naming conventions are ours. Leaders, people who are driving the field forward, value community more than content. Learners, people who value the society because of the continuing education or continuing professional development opportunities they receive, value the content more than the community. A group we're calling climbers values everything, but especially like discounts and stuff. And a group that we're calling careerists values very little. So these are the segments that we uncovered. The leaders, those who are really driving the field forward, and what they value most is the ability to interact with the community. The learner, those who are advancing themselves personally and professionally, and they value the society's content. The climbers, who value everything, who are looking to make a difference, and the careerists, who value nothing and are doing little more than dragging down your overall net promoter score. I would say that membership in 2020 should focus more on attracting climbers than anything else. Things that climbers particularly like are young professional programs, social media engagements, and mentorship programs. They're also more prone to positively respond to mission-driven marketing and communications. And climbers are more likely to be found in the US, in the developing Americas, and in Central and Southeast Asia, so not as likely to be found in Europe. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.